Hey, this is Dr. Gonzo, also known as the Gringo Slant. You can see my picture opposite up there, making things safe for us pale and stale folks. Hey, I have nothing against nobody. I've played with many uh, artists of every different color in the rainbow, and played with people who like the rainbow. So ain't no big deal to me. So what I'm going to do is some little bit of gear talk. But first, the most important thing of all, I'm going to take one of my chewed up sticks here. And this goes out to my good buddy, Glenn. He knows who he is. And he always gets a stick spin at the very start. He's a great producer. He's a drummer. He's a martial artist like myself. I actually have a second Dan in Taekwondo and a black belt in Tang Sudo and a gold slash in Hwang Kung Fu, which I learned because I like weapons. So anyway, here's the complimentary stick spin. First of all, I'm going to show off some of the sticks I use and how I use them. Here's another stick spin for Glenn. And this is a really strange stick. I'll show you what that is in just a second. There you go, Glenn. Two stick. There you go, Glenn. Two. There you go, Glenn. Two stick spins for the price of one, and you're worth it, buddy. Hey, and all my drummer friends out there, musicians, people who follow me on YouTube. I've been a professional drummer for over 40 years. I've played with more gold record people than the average drummer has. I was taught by Hal Blaine, Alex Acuna, Luis Conte has been really influential on my life, as well as being a good friend. I've played all around the world. Already did all that stuff. So now in my later years, I'm going to do some YouTube stuff. So, okay, let me show you the stick here, which is really interesting. It is called, I like Vic First sticks, and this is called a Root X. Okay, there is a little X on there, if you can see that. And that actually shows a sweet spot on the stick for a rim click. The interesting thing about this stick is it has polymer brushes on the end, almost like a hot rod. And I'll use this if it requires the volume to be down. If I'm doing a jazz gig or if I'm doing a gig in a room, which I do some coffee shop gigs, which are smaller venues, brick, and I hit really hard. I have pretty good volume control. But I'm still a rock drummer. I played all kind of genres. Here's another stick spin for you, Glenn. You get three. These are really cool sticks. These are Vader sticks, and the cool thing about these is they have wood. They're not retractable like other brushes are, and I use brushes a little, not a little bit, but a lot because I do a lot of jazz gigs. Let me scroll down and hit some music, and I'll play along and show you how I use these things. I discovered this. I'm in StreamYard. I discovered this, which was really interesting. Name this song. Yeah, StreamYard rock and Film Threat rocks too. I never knew they used that till I discovered that today. So let me play a little bit of Cascara in the background. And I'm going to show you a little bit about working with a metronome and playing along with loops and stuff like that. So let's trigger this. Let's go a little slower. That's at 120 beats a measure. That's enough of that. I actually have my blue kit set up, and what I use, because I'm in an apartment. It's a real big apartment, and my neighbors are cool. I have my own studio in here. I use these sound offs by Evans on my kit, but it's still, this is the sound with brushes. It's enough to where I can still hear and practice and not get kicked out of my apartment. Okay, the one thing I've learned, I did some sessions for Disney, a bunch of other people. I actually produced Alex Acuna, Abe Laboriel, the late great Ramon Stagnaro, doing an album for the troops overseas. And I've learned a lot of things in the studio that you got to have the right tool, especially as a drummer. That's why if you're in a studio session, the guitar players will bring in for their cartridge companies will bring in like I played with Dave Cleveland once, man. He bought this huge Anvil case. Now I use Anvil road cases when I'm touring. I don't tour anymore. But I still have my Anvil road case from Gary Lewis and the Playboys. But he wheeled in, there was like 1,000 guitars in there to do 2 songs. So whatever. Okay, so here's some bass drum beaters. This is a Tama bass drum beater. This is for inside use. You can still practice on your speed. These are my favorite mallets of all time. I love Danmar equipment, Danmar mallets. This is a hard blue felt mallet. This is a square. It's a John A. Robinson wooden beater. It's square, and I like it when I really have to play some loud rock because it hits the surface flat. But I'm telling you what, you need to have some. I use I'll put a picture up of it. I use these little felt, not Kevlar, but little felt circles on top of my drum kit so it doesn't open up my bass drum because I kick pretty hard. Also, good drummer. I've met him a couple times before. A great guy named Zorro, Zoro. Great drummer. Look him up on YouTube. He has a square felt mallet. So that's kind of my arsenal with that. My main stick is a Steve Gadd stick. Doesn't make me play like Steve Gadd, but I like the balance of them. They balance really well, and I like them. I use nylon and wood tip. The 2 pedals I use, let me show you. I was playing in Louisville, Kentucky with Gary Lewis and the Playboys at a place called the Heartwood Tavern. And of all people to come in to see us play, the band Yes came in. They were on the Relayer tour with Patrick Mraz and got to be, I met Alan White, who him and Bill Bruford are 2 of my favorite drummers. Met Alan White, and he turned me on to these Access pedals. These are made by this same technique they use to make airplanes. I mean, this stuff is cut metal. It's definitely, I like a metal strap instead of a chain drive. I prefer that. And on here, I'm using a Pearl Demonator. That is a nylon bass drum. It's nylon on the outside, and it has a wood core, so it really has some snap back to it. Great balance. And last but not least, my spare, always have a spare pedal just in case something breaks. I have my original Ludwig Speed King. I got this in 1976. I repack the bearings once in a while. Um, it's a little bit of a squeaker. Phil Collins swears by Ludwig Speed King. And if you've heard Phil Collins live, he's got one of the greatest feet in history on a single bass drum. You'll notice this mallet, another Danmar mallet. I use this when I have jazz gigs. It's a yarn mallet. It actually is a yarn ball, hard yarn with a wood core to give it some great snapback. Um, tuning preferences. Well, tuning preferences are your own thing. I like to tune my drums a third apart. I use on my one kit, my blue kit, which is the last endorsement kit I had with Gretsch, Caribbean Blue. And it's a birch kit, so it's kind of a mellow wood. I use a 8, 10, and 12 on the rack, and I use a 13-inch mounted tom for my floor tom and a 16. I just like the difference is I don't like having a 13 on the rack because they're like a retarded drum because it's like an inch difference. I like 2 inches difference. It's easier to tune a third or a fifth apart. Just for me, again, it's personal preferences. My old buddy Hal Blaine used to tune to the song because he had individual when he was working in that. So anyway, let me show you a quick clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this Tama Rhythm Watch. I got the RW105. Quick clip. And here we go. Okay, now that was the Who live at Albert Hall. And I'm going to play this on the outro because it's the real me from Quadrophenia. Great song, and Townsend does the windmills and all that kind of thing in there. It's when John Entwistle was still alive. Lost him to powder and a hooker. That's sad. But anyway, when Zach was looking to the side, let me play that one more time for you. Now Zach is looking to his left, and he has a Tama Rhythm Watch. Now Zach Starkey is Ringo Starkey's kid, and for the people that want to crap on Ringo, you go ahead and do that. You duplicate Ringo's drumming; it's a lot harder than you think. You read some of the stuff that was charted out, and Ringo's pretty good, but Zach's a beast. And I think Zach was a better fit for the Who, uh, for sure than Kenny Jones was. Kenny Jones is a pretty simple drummer. He's a good drummer, and he was great with. Excuse me. He was great with the Faces, with Rod Stewart and Ron Wood and all that, but a little bit too simple for the Who. And then they got Simon Phillips, and Simon Phillips is a great drummer. I mean, play with Toto, play with everybody. Um, the guy can play anything. But I think, to me, personal choice, Zach Starkey is a better fit to replace Keith Moon, which you can't replace Keith Moon. So this Tama Rhythm Watch, it's very, very. Don't make it overcomp. There's a lot of stuff that this thing can do, but what Zach is using it for is to click off his time. And then, okay, so let me click it on. Let me see. Can you see that? There's little lights that flash, and then you can actually turn on the sound. So let me show you this. Zach was looking to his left-hand side, and he was actually counting it out. I assume with lights, he could have had it in his in-ears, the sound, just to click off the sound. Excuse me. So if you saw Zach looking to the left, he was looking at this. He uses a Tama rhythm watch, and what this does is it'll click off the sound. You can pre-program it up to 30 songs. Hey, here's a little Sweetwater thing on this. I use the product, but I really don't think about it that much because I use it just for what I use it. So here's a little thing.
I'm Terry Bissett, U.S. Division Manager for Tom and Drums. I'd like to talk to you about the Rhythm Watch. The Rhythm Watch is a portable click track. You can store up to 30 songs in memory, and it also features an odd time feature.
Okay, so the odd time feature, what he's really talking about, I would suggest that you take all the knobs except for the master that controls your volume, okay, and bury those. Bury all of them except the quarter note if you just want to keep your beat steady. Now you can add in triplets. So so you could do paradiddle, dragadiddles with that, you know, to practice along. I suggest practicing with a metronome, or there's all kind of really cool. Um, I'll put a link down below. Rob Brown, a drummer that I follow, he has a really cool set of just tracks that you can play along with. When I learned songs back in the day, I would just play along to the record. Um, but those vary in meter, you know, and I'm telling you, when you're in the studio, you're playing to click a lot. You got to be able to play to click. The really good guys can play in front or behind the quarter note, but you got to be on. You got to have that great sense of timing. Most of us are never going to have the timing in the pocket that a guy like Jeff Porcaro, the late great Jeff Porcaro, who I really loved in Toto. It does a Roseanne shuffle and all that. And then you got all these new kids these days that can just go 100 miles an hour. And the Tama rhythm watch will go as quick as you want to go. So I suggest playing around with it, playing along with it. The next time, let me show you one other thing: how to trick out your snare a little bit. I'm really proud of the snare sound I get. I've used Evans heads ever since I was with Gary Lewis and the Playboys. So let me see, so it doesn't catch the light. It's kind of like a Remo. It's similar to a Remo striped head, but I like the dotted, the inverted dot on them. I prefer the sound on that. And this also has, it's frosted. So it's let me read the exact name of it. I just bought it because it sounds good. It's a EC reverse dot. I like the reverse dot heads, whether you use Remo or Evans. I use all Evans hydraulic heads, blue on my blue kit and red on my traveling kit. My red kit, which you may have saw at the very intro, the red kit has all red heads on it because I think it looks cool. That's actually my son Steven's kit, which I store at the house for him. He has a Roland electronic set that he practices at his place in Columbus. So I love the way Phil Collins sounds and the way Dave Garibaldi sounds. So what I did to make my snare, this is a It's a beautiful snare. It's called a Venus. It's Carl Palmer's signature snare. He actually signed the inside of it. And I use a orchestra type of snare head on that to get really, really great response from the snare strap and from my snare sound. And let me see if I can get a good angle on this. This is a Noble Cooley snare strap. Phil Collins uses Noble Cooley snares. Dave Garibaldi, of course, uses Yamaha. But if you can see, this snare strap is really unique, and there's little separations in between them. So it sounds great to me. And I can play in a big room and not have to mic my snare. This is a solid piece of brass. It is a very, very heavy, snare. And my second snare is the Bill Bruford signature snare, which is packed away because I got a theater gig later today. And I also use a Gretsch. I'll show a picture of that Gretsch maple snare, which has kind of cool Milk Shop logo on it and stuff like that, because he used to play in a lot of oldie bands. So this is Dr. Gonzo, aka the Gringo Slant, making stuff safe for us pale and stale white guys. Hey, again, I love all races, man. I do. Check out my YouTube tapes. Why I do YouTube the way I do is because it's what I want to do. So let's have the Who take it out with The Real Me and Quadrophenia, and I'll check you later. Hey, next time we're going to talk about cymbals.
Sick. I see them tell me about my weekends, but will he never tell you what he thinks? I said, can you see the real me, doctor? Can you see the real me, doctor? Wow, doctor. I went back to my mother. I said, I'm crazy, Mom, help me. She said, I don't know how to feel, son, 'cause it runs in the family. Can you see the real me, Mama? Can you see the real me, Mama? Can you see the real me?
song by The Who. Still gives me chills. So if you were watching Zach during his time playing, he would check his time on it. The kid has pocket, man. Oh, he's not a kid, he's a man, but the young man definitely has pocket, but he would check his time looking over to the left to make sure he's still on the beat, doing a good job for those who pay him money and because he loves his craft. And I love drumming. I love movies. I love comic books. I got a bunch. Probably not as much as Gary and Az and all those guys have. But hey, this is Dr. Gonzo, a.k.a. the Gringo Slant, saying have a great day. Have a great weekend. More gear talk coming at you. I am in the process also of doing a Iman Vellani versus Rachel Ziegler tape. Who's the better actress? Tune in to find out. Hey, see you later.